And a very good morning to everybody. It's a Sunday morning. Welcome to the show. We're coming to you live, but we're not coming to you live from Charlotte today. This weekend, we're in Denver, Colorado. Come out here, see my grandson play some baseball and some tournaments. So that's where we are today. So thank you very much for listening. I am Chris Pardo, and like I said, we're coming to you live. We're on the I-95 Sports and Entertainment Network, as well as most of your major podcast platforms. You might be listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or perhaps Google Podcasts, any one of those. We're on most of the major casts. You can listen to us. Very easy to hear the show any time of the day, whether you're listening to it live or as a podcast replay later on in the day. But either way, we want to welcome you to the show, whatever time zone you're in. I'm over here in the Mountain Time Zone today, and of course, it's just a smidgen over 9 a.m. 8 a.m. actually, 8 a.m. Mountain Time. You go from one time zone to another. It takes a while to kind of accumulate to it. Not only that, but when you come from Charlotte, you come from the East Coast, and you come to Denver, Colorado, you're talking about some change as far as the sea level changes. You're little over a mile over the regular normal sea level. So it may a little tough. You got to kind of get used to it for a while. So anyway, that's enough about that. I want to welcome you once again to the show. We're going to be talking about basketball today. We have no baseball plays for today. Nothing seems to fit into the pattern today. Had a pretty good day yesterday as far as the plays go. We had 3 plays. We had 2 winners and 1 loser. Yankees and the Phillies. We had the Phillies in that game. We had Oakland over the Royals. That was a winner. And of course, the one loser was right here. The Denver Rockies play the Reds, and they got defeated soundly in that game as well. But the game wasn't here. The game was in Cincinnati. So that's the story there. Basketball, we're going to take a look at 2 games for today. Got the Brooklyn Nets against the Bucks and the Suns against Denver. So those are the games on tap for today as far as watching the line movement and, of course, in which way the pros are going. And speaking of line movement, because we don't have that much to talk about as far as baseball is concerned because of no plays at all. So we're going to take some time once again to try to give you some information, bring you up to date, stuff maybe you've already heard already, but we have new listeners coming on board all the time. So today we're going to use a little learning process, going to talk about that line movement that we always talk about. What's a good way to interpret line movement even on your own so you can do it yourself just as easily as we do it here at the Sports Wagering Zone. And to get a hold of us, it's not very hard. Just very simply send an email. Send it to the Sports Wagering Zone at gmail.com. That's the Sports Wagering Zone at gmail.com. So let's take a look at what happened yesterday as far as betting was concerned. Only 2 major sports in action, Major League Baseball and the NBA. Hockey took another day off before they round up their final round for the Stanley Cup playoffs. In the NBA, the Clippers, being a 5-point favorite, covered in their 132-106 destruction. That's a destruction of the Jazz. And now they pulled 2-1 in their second round series. The number went over 222.5 as far as the scoring was concerned. Now the favorites have improved to 9-3 straight up and 7-4-1 against the spread in this round. Now, they're 39-16 straight up, 35-19 against the spread for the entire playoffs, and that's pretty close to 65% overall. The home teams, well, they lead it all, 9-3 straight up, 7-4 against the spread in this round, but over the entire series so far, the home teams lead 31-24. 29-25 against the spread, which is pretty close to 54% overall. The unders lead 7-5 in this round, but the overs still have a slight lead, 28-26, as far as the entire series is concerned. So that's the NBA roundup for yesterday. That was really the only game on tap. So we have taking a look now at Major League Baseball, where the favorites went 9-7. But you had one huge upset yesterday. The Rangers plus 235 on the money line against the Dodgers, and they beat them 12-1. I mean, that's really tough when you get a team like the Rangers beating the Dodgers, who are supposed to be the best team in baseball, one of the two best teams, and both of the best teams lost yesterday. The other upsets were by the Nationals in the first game, the Phillies, the Marlins, the Mets, the Blue Jays, and the Twins. And the favorites still lead 524-394, which is at 57%. The overs went 10-6 yesterday. The overs now once again have the lead as far as the whole season is concerned, 461-457. So that's the story as far as baseball is concerned. We wrapped up the NBA for you as well. So we're going to take our first break. And as if you've listened to the show before, you know that we take 3 breaks within the show. And of course, this is our first break. Each one is about a minute and a half duration at best. Gives us a minute to kind of, take a sip of water, rethink about what we're going to talk about, get our stuff together, and come back again. And when we do come back, we're going to be talking basketball. We're going to look at the Brooklyn Nets against the Milwaukee Bucks and the Phoenix Suns against the Denver Nuggets. Those are the games that we're looking at as far as the pros are concerned and as how the line movement has been going. So let's take that break and we'll be back into the zone right after this. I'll tell you, this is a very important message, especially if you're talking about taxes. And welcome back. Welcome back to the Sports Wagering Zone. I'm Chris Pardo. Thank you very much for listening. We're coming to you live from Denver, Colorado this weekend. Like I said, out here to catch my grandson playing some baseball tournament. Little 13-year-old kid looks pretty good. Second baseman, pitches, not bad. Okay. Anyway, thank you very much for listening. Let's take a look now and take a look at the NBA. We have a couple of games that are on tap for today. And of course, we want to check the line movement on those games. And then, of course, that kind of tells us in which direction the pros are going. Now, lately, they haven't been doing all that well as far as selecting the NBA games, even though they're still at a little over 66% for this entire series so far. But anyway, just to give you an idea, the 2 losses a couple of days ago, we had Philadelphia and the Hawks, and we had Phoenix and Denver, the game we're going to talk about today. Those are 2 losses. The day before that, we had 1 loss, 1 play, 1 loss. And so although they started real strong, started up around 72, 73% at one point in time, 74. Now it kind of come back down even. So you kind of understand that they do they don't, not that they make mistakes, but that, sometimes their calculations and things of that nature don't always turn out. But you do have to follow them over a period of time. You just can't take 1 or 2 days. You're out of context then. Forget about it. If you look in the beginning of these playoffs and how well they started out, you say, wow, that's fantastic. Well, they generally are in the 58, maybe 60% percentage as far as wins are concerned. So no matter how they start out, whether it's on the plus side, on the negative side, eventually, over a period of time, they will get back down to their normal situation of being at 58, 57, maybe up to 60% as far as their picks are concerned. So let's take a look at 2 games that they have on tap for today. The 3 o'clock game, you got the Brooklyn Nets and the Milwaukee Bucks. The Nets lead this series 2-1 because they lost the first 2 games in Brooklyn. The Bucks earned a really much-needed win at their home court as Game 3, taking down the Nets 86-83 in a close game, but they didn't cover in that game. They were 3.5-point home favorites. In this afternoon's rematch, the Nets opened as a short 2-point road favorite. Nets opened 2-point road favorite. The public is absolutely coming in very strong on Brooklyn with more than 8 out of 10 bets. 8 out of 10 bets are betting and laying the points with the Nets. However, and here's that big however, it always comes into play, despite all of this action that's coming in that direction, the line has kind of stayed frozen. It's still at 2 before we came into the show. In fact, several books even dropped it down to 1.5 a few times, then bounced back to 2 as well. So what this means is that there's a pro reverse line movement on the Bucks, and they're going and betting on the Milwaukee and taking the 2 points at home. So think of it this way. If everybody is betting the Nets, then why hasn't Brooklyn moved to 2.5 or even up to 3? When you have 8 out of 10 bets coming in and there's no movement at all, there's a reason for it, because the house has taken the respect of the pros and their selection of the Bucks, and they don't want to give them a better number. In other words, the houses believe that maybe the pros have something that they know that they not know that it's going to happen, but according to their statistical data, they have the reason to like the Bucks. Why give them more points? So you'll leave it where it is. That's the general thinking on things of that nature. Okay. We've also seen some under money come in. The total opened at 230. It's been bet down to 228. The unders are 7-5 so far in round 2. That's somewhere around 58%. The under is a perfect 3-0 in this particular series. The final combined scores of the 3 games so far were 222, 211, and 169. Now, leading 2-1, Brooklyn is still a minus 375 favorite on the money line to win the entire series, and Milwaukee is a plus 300 underdog to win the series. So in this particular situation, the pros strongly, definitely are on the Milwaukee Bucks in this situation. Meanwhile, at 8 p.m., Phoenix Suns down here in Denver playing the Nuggets. The Suns lead this series 3-0. They have a chance to eliminate the Nuggets by winning tonight, this afternoon, tonight, and also they punched their ticket into the finals for the NBA Conference Championship. Phoenix is coming off a big 116-102 win back in Game 3. They easily won outright as 2-point road dogs in that game and just destroyed Denver in that game. In tonight's game 4, the Suns opened as a really short 2.5-point road favorite, though, this time on the favorite side. The pros and the general public, they all seem to agree on this one, that everybody's laying the points with the Suns right now. This is a lopsided betting, and it's driven Phoenix up from being a 2.5 to a 3-point favorite. And some of the shops are juicing the 3 points to minus 115 on the money line, which, once again, we've talked about this before. We've explained to you how this works. They juice the number up, and then when it gets maybe to 120, that means that there's a good possibility that it may come into the point situation, raising the point level from 3 to 3.5. So for some reason, you like Denver, sit back and wait because the line may move a little more. If you like Phoenix, you better get in there as soon as possible because that line is moving, and it probably will. Now, the playoff favorites with a line move in their favor, that's at least a half a point or more, are at 64% this playoff season so far. 64%. That's one thing to take a look at. Now, respected money, the pro money, has also come in on the over, driving the total from 221 up to 222. Now, keep this in mind as well. When the total is 220 or more, the over is 62% so far in the playoffs. Leading 3-0, the Suns are now a minus 10,000 on the money line as favorites to move into the final round. The Nuggets, they're at plus 2,500 to come back and win the entire series. So as far as the public is concerned, as far as the pros are concerned, everybody is singing the same song. They're all on the Phoenix Suns. The line's at 3. There's a good possibility it may go to 3.5. That's because the juicing on the upside. So if you like Phoenix, you better get in as soon as you can. Denver, sit back and relax. That line will probably go to 3.5, and the money keeps coming in. It's the late game. It's the night game, okay? So the first game will be already over with, long and gone. So a lot of the money that's going in on that first game, the winners will try to win a doubleheader for today, and they'll come in strong on this game. And the bettors who lost generally say, well, there's only one game left. Let me see if I can at least break even for the day. And they'll come in and bet. So you'll have a lot of money. It's going to be a big game, highly bet, highly looked at. So that's the way you should look at this game for tonight. Right now, like we said, Phoenix Suns favored by 3. Could go to 3.5, possibly even to 4. So that's the story on that game. And once again, the first game we looked at, the Brooklyn Nets against the Milwaukee Bucks. In that game, the pros are on the Milwaukee Bucks. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to take a look at the latest odds as far as the series odds are concerned, and we're going to update you on the NBA title odds and the final MVP odds as well. That's coming to us from BetMGM. So that's the story there. We're going to take our break. When we come back, that's what we're going to talk about. Take a look at the odds situation. And of course, we're also going to be talking about how to read the line movement, kind of give you an idea as to how that works, how you do it on your own. Okay. So let's take that break. And just a reminder, we'll be back in the zone right after this. And welcome back. Welcome back to the Sports Wagering Zone. I'm Chris Pardo, coming to you live on the I-95 Sports and Entertainment Network. Today from Denver, Colorado. Denver, Colorado. Thank you very much for listening. We talked about the two games, just in case you just tuned in. Two basketball games on tap for today. We have no baseball action for today. The Brooklyn Nets against the Milwaukee Bucks. In this particular game, the pros are on the underdog in this game. They're on the Milwaukee Bucks. The Phoenix Suns and the Denver Nuggets, everybody seems to be in agreement. The Phoenix Suns is the team to bet. Not only the pros, but the general public as well. Everybody is on Phoenix in that game. So let's take a look at the updated series numbers as far as BetMGM is concerned. In the game between the 76ers and the Hawks, the Sixers, they lead the series 2-1. They're at a minus 600. The Hawks are plus 425 to win the series. The Jazz are a minus 200 against the Clippers. Clippers are plus 155. The Jazz lead as far as games are concerned, 2-1 so far as well. Now, as far as the final title odds are concerned, the Nets are still on top. They're at a plus 130. The Jazz are 360. Suns plus 475. All these are on the plus side, by the way. 76ers, 800. The Clippers at 900. The Bucks are at 1,200. The Hawks are at 10,000. The Nuggets, if you're looking for a real way out long shot, 25,000 plus 25,000 on the money line. And as far as the MVP odds are concerned, Durant leads. He's at plus 180. Mitchell's at 450. Booker's at 700. Embiid is at 900. Leonard's at 1,100. Harden and Paul are tied. They're at 1,200. Irving's at 1,800. George is at 3,000. Simmons, Ayton, and Conley, they're at 4,000. So those are the latest odds as far as the MVP is concerned, the NBA title odds as well, and of course for the various teams to win their series finals as well. Like we said, there are no games today as far as baseball is concerned, but I just want to talk about one very simple thing. I know that on the weekend, we do have different listeners than we have during the week. Some of the week listeners listen also on the weekend, but the weekend listeners, most of the time, just listen on the weekend and may not listen during the week. But either way, there's something that happened during the week that I think I want to bring to your attention. And if you did hear it already, perhaps there's something else you may hear into it that you may want to know about. It has to do with baseball. One of the listeners sent me an email. We get emails all the time with questions and things of that nature. This was a very profound question because he was wondering why and how, and wanted to know how well a certain situation in betting the money line in baseball was concerned. He was looking at being at the plus 170 or higher on the money line and taking a look at that situation and seeing perhaps maybe that's a good way to maybe possibly make bets. So we took a close look at it and came up with this particular statistic, which would be very important for you. To begin with, if you take a look at all of the games from April 1st, when the season started, up until the other day, we had 70 plays on games where teams went off at 170 on the plus side on the money line or more. We had 70 games. Out of those 70 games, there were 31 winners. That came out to a 44.2% average, but more so than that, if you would have bet every game, you'd be up well over $1,600 if you bet $100 a game. We always use 100 whenever we describe betting situations because that's the easiest way to change it. If you're betting $50, just cut that in half. If you're betting $25 a game, cut that to a quarter of what that number is. Well, that's the way the story goes on that. So it's interesting. We talked about it during the week. In case you didn't hear it, if you're one of the just weekend listeners, I just want to bring that to your attention because you might want to really think about it. And you take a look at yesterday, when you look at that Rangers game, which was a plus 235. And again, the only criteria for betting the game is for the team to be over plus 170 on the money line, only that game. So you had the Rangers at plus 235. They beat the Dodgers 12-1. So there, that was a big plus for you if you were going in that direction. So I just want to let you know about that. We're going to take our final break. When we come back, we're going to talk about money line movement, give you an idea as to how to interpret it, how to look at it, and kind of take it from there. We'll be back right after this. And welcome back. Welcome back to the Sports Wagering Zone. I'm Chris Pardo. Thank you very much for listening. Coming to you live on the I-95 Sports and Entertainment Network. And of course, you might be listening on one of our podcast platforms, such as Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio Podcast, also Spotify, most of your major podcast platforms. In the meantime, let's take a quick look and kind of give you an idea as to, we always talk about line movement and what does that mean? How do you go about doing it? Because it's not all that difficult. It's just time consuming. The pros, they're also called sharps. Some people call them wise guys. Okay. They're the experts when it comes to sports betting. They're the professional bettors. They have a long track record. They're very successful. They win at a high rate, somewhere around 58 to 60%. They have years and years, decades maybe of experience. Typically, they bet large amounts of money on games, just like we talked prior to the break, where we said betting $100, you'd be up $1,600 or more. Well, just think about it if you're betting $1,000 a game, or if you're betting $10,000 a game. It's not unusual for them to make bets that large because that's how they make their living. Now, not unlike those public bettors, you just place wagers for fun. Some of them use it as a hobby. Maybe you have some fun with it. You get a little joy out of it. You're trying to prove you're better than your neighbor, your brother-in-law, your friend, or whomever. But the pros, they don't have any other job. This is their job. Sports betting is a full-time job, and they're only, or Some of them may have other sources of income because of investment purposes, but as far as a wage coming in, it's coming in from sports betting. They're fearless, there's no doubt about it, but more importantly than being fearless, you can be fearless, but you also have to be disciplined, and that's what they are. Disciplined is the key word in sports betting success. They don't bet based on how they feel in their gut instincts, okay? They have no biases, okay? They're completely driven by data. They're driven by value. They're always looking to get that value in a game. They bet numbers. They don't bet the teams. The numbers don't lie. However the numbers come out, that's the way they go. They only place a bet if they see an edge or if they see that they may have an advantage over the line that's put out by the sports books. Now, remember, the pros win more often than they lose, which is why you never want to go against their type of action. It's just logical. They have the respect to the sports books. When they really get down hard, they can move lines. We were just talking about that before on some of the games for today. Now, another characteristic of the pros is that a lot of them set their own lines. They create their own power ratings, and then they compare each team to another team to figure out what they think the line should be. Then they compare their numbers to what the sports books are coming up with. And if they see a big difference between the two, they get down real hard on their numbers. For example, let's just look at it this way. If the pros have the Ravens as being 10-point favorites against the Bengals, based on their power ratings, and the books open the Ravens at 8.5, the pros immediately come strong in on Baltimore because the line is shorter than what they predicted. So it's important to remember that no one becomes a pro overnight. It takes time, years and years. A lot of effort has to be put in, a lot of study, a lot of experience. The goal should be this. You should try to get better every day that you make your wagers by at least 0.01%. If you can improve that much every day, you're going to be doing very, very well. Now, if you can't set your own lines and you're not a pro, the next best thing, you want to learn how to read and how to interpret this line movement that we always talk about. So by learning how to read the market, you can then find out where the pro money is falling. Now, the first way to spot that action is through what we call a steam move. A steam move is, when you have a real big amount of money, an overload of pro money comes down quick, big, all at one time, whack, there it goes, all across the market, causes a sudden change throughout the system, whether it's in Colorado, New York, Mississippi, Illinois, Vegas, it doesn't matter. Everywhere, it just kind of changes, okay? So you take a look at it this way. Over a short period of time, you might hear something like this: the Chiefs getting steamed from being a 6 to a 7-point favorite. That's one way to you can hear about it. The key with the team is that you need to make sure that you act fast. You have to be quick. You have to get an idea so when it happens, because you have to identify it soon, because the line's going to change. It may flip. It may go from being a -1-point favorite to being a +1-point favorite. It can change. Now, all of a sudden, it may not be the bet that they're looking at, okay? So you have to get in as soon as you can. You have to identify it as soon as it happens. So once you see it going, you have to pick it off and stay in there and try to get in around the same time that they do at the same line that they're getting in on. Now, once the line is at 7, where we're talking about in this fictional situation from 6, that means you missed that triggering number. The value has kind of diminished at this point in time. That would be referred to as chasing the steam. So you don't want to chase it. You either get in on it at the right time or you don't, okay? The second way to look at it is through what we call a reverse line movement. You hear us say it all the time. Now, this is when the betting line goes away from the popular side toward the unpopular side. Think of it as a line move that makes no sense. Remember, if it looks fishy, there's probably a reason for it. There's no doubt about it. For example, maybe 75% of the bets are taking the Patriots as 7-point favorites against the Jets. But in spite of this and all this action coming in, you see the line drop to 6.5. That would be considered a reverse line movement, and it would be on the Jets. The pros hitting New York at a +7, causing the line to fall in their favor, despite being the dog or the unpopular pick in this situation. So once again, to really capitalize on reverse line movement, you need to jump on a sports book that's still up there at +7 before it falls to +6.5, because that's what will happen. So that's the story. That's how you read some of these lines. You got to take a close look at them. You watch them from day to day, you'll see. When we come to the NFL games, we kind of watch them for you every day. There are 3 or 4 games that we kind of pick out that they seem to be having some action on, and we kind of take it from there. We follow it every day. We bring you up to date up until the day of the game so that you'll know how it's going. But once again, as always, we leave all the decision making up to you as to whether or not you want to bet on the game. So that's the story as far as line movement is concerned. There's a little more to it than that as well. Maybe we get some more time in the near future. We'll go even a little more deeper into what we've been talking about. But that's one of the keys. Line movement. That's the way you determine which direction the big money, the pro money is going. And they're right 58, 57, 59% of the time. So that's the story there. In the meantime, the 2 games on tap for tonight as far as the NBA is concerned. You got the Brooklyn Nets playing the Milwaukee Bucks in Milwaukee. The Bucks are the underdog on this game. The pros are on the Bucks in this situation. Meanwhile, at 8 o'clock tonight, you have the Phoenix Suns in Denver playing the Denver Nuggets. And in that situation, not only the pros, the general public, everybody, they're all on the Phoenix Suns. They think they'll wrap it up today. There's some line movement going on there. Keep an eye on it. If you like the Suns, it may not be a bad idea to get in as soon as you can, get the opportunity. If you think maybe Denver may squeak one out, sit back and relax. Take your time, because if the line moves upward to being -3.5, maybe even -4, that's going to make it a +3.5 or a +4 on your side. So if that's the way you're looking, that's what you have to do. In the meantime, we have no baseball action for today. None of the games seem to fall into any of the categories to make them a value bet or make them worthwhile to lay your money down on any of them at all. So that's the story there. I want to thank you once again for listening. It's Sunday. Have a nice day today for yourself. Maybe you can spend some time with your family or whatever you're doing. I hope you have a very pleasant day. And of course, if you're going to be betting today, I certainly hope you have the best of luck in that situation as well. So not only have a pleasant and enjoyable day, but also try to have a profitable day as well. We'll be back again tomorrow. That's Monday. We're here every Monday through Friday, 12 p.m. Eastern Time, 12 noon Eastern Time, every day, Monday through Friday, Saturdays and Sundays at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. So once again, thanks for listening. Good luck to you if you're betting. If you're not betting, sit back, relax, maybe take a few minutes, start looking at some of your numbers and figures for the upcoming college and NFL seasons that will be here in less than less than 90 days right now. So kind of take a close look and start doing your homework in that direction as well. So once again, until tomorrow, I'm Chris Pardo. Thank you very much for listening. We've been coming to you live on the I-95 Sports and Entertainment Network. Until tomorrow at 12 noon, have a pleasant and a profitable Sunday. Goodbye, everybody.